everybody, and welcome to Authentic Points of View podcast on a different kind of day. Got my strings showing. So, it's not Sunday. It was Easter yesterday. And so we're here on a Monday. And McKenna's sad because she wanted to be here, but she is at school. She asked me if I can pick her up from school. I said, absolutely not. You're not skipping for this. And it's pretty much would be just telling on ourselves because it's live, so her teachers could see if they wanted. Anyway, all right. So I'm excited about today's guest, and bear with me because I don't have my partner again, and so she pushes a lot of the buttons and stuff. So just bear with me. All right. So Keri Cooper, LCSW, don't know what that means. Maybe she'll tell us. Is the owner of Keri Cooper Holistic Therapy in Northern New Jersey. And in her private practice, she counsels teens and works with them to give them tools they need to navigate life. Yay, that's so awesome. All right. Welcome to the show, Keri.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Like I said, my daughter's the one that pushes on. So I'm going with the flow and trying. I used to do the show by myself. Sorry, my dress is different. I used to do the show by myself, and but we use a different platform. So yeah, she does all the thingies. So welcome so much. That makes sense. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, is what I'm trying to say, for coming on and on a different day. So I was talking to you a second ago and I was saying, I don't know if kids can watch, but you said some kids still have off. And plus, it's kind of, I don't know if it's a holiday, but in the calendar it is. So hopefully people can watch. If not, we will, the replay is always there. All right. So, what does LC, the social worker?
I knew that would be your first question. Yes, licensed clinical social worker is what LCSW stands for. Yes.
I kind of figured that out, but not until a few seconds later. That's how I work. My brain's on like process and then, okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Wow. Okay. So, how long have you been a social worker, and have you always worked with only teens?
Yes. So it's every time I say this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is true. But I've been a social worker I'm coming up on 25 years. Actually, I might be coming up on 26 years.
Wow, you look so young.
Thank you. But it's been a long time. I went right from college to graduate school and jumped right in. And yes, I've always worked with teens and kids. They are the population I wanted to work with. That's why I went into this field. And I am so fortunate that I get to do that every day. And I've done it in many different settings. And now I'm in private practice, and I have been for, close to 10 years, if not more.
That's so nice. That is awesome. And congratulations. And that's wonderful. So why have you always wanted to work with teens? Like, what kind of motivated you to help teens?
I think that the teenage years are just really important, and that kids are going through so much. I mean, kids are going through so much at many different ages, but especially in those teen years, they're trying to figure out who you are. And I really wanted to be an adult that was there for them to kind of help guide them through that, and one without judgment, where they can really talk about, the mistakes they made and what they wish they did differently, and how, they can do better next time without that fear of judgment. And, the teen years are messy. They're just messy. And to work with that population, you need to enjoy that mess. And I do enjoy that mess.
That's so awesome. And God bless you. So I have 3 grown men, I call them. One of them's about to be 19 on the 29th of this month. And then the rest are in their 20s. And then I have I love her, my almost 12-year-old. And tweens are hard and teens are also hard. But middle school is tough. Like, tough.
Middle school is tough. And I think that's why, so many adults are like, you couldn't pay me to go back to middle school. I mean, it's true. Middle school is so tough because nobody knows who they are, and
Right.
everybody's just trying to figure it out. High school, a little bit more, but not much. But middle school is just, it could be cutthroat and brutal, and it's really, really challenging. And I think the most common thing I hear from middle schoolers is that they just feel so alone. They
Oh,
feel like no one gets them, or they're just, constantly scared about being dropped from their friend group. And those are real fears. Parents, I think, kind of gloss over them sometimes, like, oh, it's just a friend group. But actually, it feels the same way in our brain as when we were like cavemen. And like, if we got kicked out of our group, that meant death. And it doesn't feel any different to our reptile brain still, even though it doesn't mean death anymore. But it kind of feels like it.
yeah. Well, that's the thing though. It's like, so I moved around a lot. Well, not too much, but my dad was in the military. And so every few years I was moving around. And so how many middle schools did I go to? I think I only went to two though, to be honest. I went to middle school in Germany and then, nope, I went to three. I went to a middle school that was a high school, which was horrible. Some seniors pushed me down the stairs and I was in seventh grade. And they were boys and I'm a girl. And I got in trouble for being pushed down the stairs because I was late to class. So that was very traumatic. So I didn't even remember that one. I just skipped over it. And then I went to a middle school in Maryland as well. But that was kind of cool because I went to elementary school in Maryland. So we kind of came back 3 years later and found out, oh my gosh, some of the same people are still here. So that was cool. But in high school, every year my friend group changed.
Yeah.
Every year. Like, so, and I was in a lot of activities. My daughter's in a lot of activities. And it's so funny because, like, one day somebody's her best friend, and then the next day somebody's her best friend, and then they don't talk anymore, and then somebody else, and then they're talking again, and I can't keep up.
Yeah, no, it's very challenging to keep. You have to just kind of ride with it and go with the flow.
I'm like, okay. But I support her and I love her. She's such a great kid. I wish she was here to talk about this stuff, but she's such a great kid. And so I kind of just like go, okay, just nod my head, like, sure. There is one that's her very best friend that I know, and I know the parents and all that stuff. But it's tough. Like, the sad part is, and I wouldn't say this probably in front of her, but with weight and stuff, she won't even let me see how much she weighs, and that makes me sad because I'm her mom. But she just feels like a lot of judgment, and she's not even a big kid. And so, is there a lot of that, with girls today? Do they talk about that a lot, or?
Absolutely. There's a lot of fear of judgment, and they feel like everybody is judging them, and then they're also comparing themselves to everybody. And then add on top of that social media, where you can so easily compare your life to everyone else's fake life, what they present on social media.
Right.
And it feels like you're never good enough. Everyone's Instagram and social media, it's not a true representation of who they are. But when we see it, we believe that it is. And then our life can never really measure up. And then we always feel like less than. So social media has really complicated this time period of tweens and teens. And that was already a really complicated time period.
Right. Oh, I remember MySpace, and it wasn't like that. Like, when they first came out with stuff, and like when I had a MySpace, I didn't even want one, but my friends, I was moving to a different state, and they're like, "Keep in touch with us." But the thing is, like, I don't feel like it was very competitive or like that. It was just kind of like, oh look, you can see pictures of your friends or whatever. But yeah, social media is definitely. Oh my gosh, I was at her she had a dance recital the other night, and these children, and my kid was one of them. I didn't even know she was doing a video the time she was doing it because I was looking at these other kids. They're supposed to be getting ready. One of them couldn't find her dance shoe, but she's doing a TikTok, and we're about to line up, and I'm like, is this real life? What is happening right now? Like, what are y'all doing? And so And I didn't know my daughter did one until later on. Now I have a TikTok, and so I follow her. And I was like, "You did a TikTok live," but at least we had like 20 minutes or 10 minutes at that point. This girl had one shoe on of jazz,
Mhm.
one shoe on of ballet, and was trying to do a TikTok. I'm like, "You don't have matching shoes. Can you find your other shoe?"
Right.
And yeah, and so I'm just
But for
like,
her, what was important was the TikTok, not
yeah,
the matching
like,
shoes.
I know. I mean, and I was like, "You're gonna fall," because one of them had like a platform a little bit, and one of them's flat. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Take them off. Wear the same of this one of the shoes," like because she lost the jazz shoe. Um, but she couldn't find the other jazz shoe. But then she put on a ballet shoe because they're the same color. I'm like, "Put on two ballet shoes. Don't put on any shoes. Don't know. Don't want you to fall." And so, of course, that's my mind thinking, but theirs is, "Oh, look, TikTok."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so funny. But like, I was like that. I was very squirrel, not with social media, but just that's how I was as a kid. Very even as an adult. Very distracted, all that stuff. So
Mhm.
I mean, I get it, but I mean, even I look back and I'm like, did I have my priorities together at that age? Probably not. But
No,
I
and normal not to, but what's not
yeah,
normal is then to have something to distract you 24/7
right.
in the palm of
That's
your
true.
hand.
Right. That's so true. Yep.
Right.
So, how has that been challenging for you as the um, therapist, social worker, whatever? How's that changed how you practice?
Yeah. So I've been in this field before social media was a
Yeah.
thing, before smartphones were a thing. So I've seen the change firsthand. And I've seen the increase in anxiety that has come with it. And I
Mm,
think that's one of the biggest issues is that anxiety is through the roof at this point. And that really shifted once the phones became in everyone's hand with the social media. Before then, it wasn't like this in terms of anxiety, but now you have to remember there's so much for them to be anxious about because you have to remember in those teen years, they're finding themselves. They don't want to be kicked out of a friend group. That feels like death. And now here they are seeing what everybody else is doing, seeing everybody else's perfect life, able to track where all their friends are. Oh, these girls are out without me. Afraid that somebody's going to post something about them, afraid that somebody's going to capture something embarrassing about them and post it. It
yeah.
is constant fear, and that triggers the anxiety.
Oh, mama. That's
Yeah,
a
but then so often as adults, we wonder, like, why do these kids have so much anxiety? Well, this
yeah.
is why. They wake up checking their phone in the morning. Who hung out together? Who's posted together? Who liked my post? Who didn't like my post? Why didn't that person comment? And they're so in their head, and it's just so easy to overthink all day long.
That's sad.
It is. It
So
is.
I I didn't let her have one. So when she was little and she leaves in the summer to go
Mhm.
see my ex-husband. So I guess she had one. I didn't even know. She had a Snapchat she shouldn't have had. I don't even know. But so the she asked me for months, well, like years, but like, can I have a TikTok? Can I have a TikTok? No, because I'm not trying to tell all her business, but I didn't trust her on the phone and the stuff because of a situation. She's not a bad kid, but just something I I'm not
They're
like
good kids.
her.
They're impulsive, and we've given them a device to do something really bad impulsively all the time with.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah, so I let her because it was the funny part is that they were shutting it down. So I was like, okay, have it for the next few days, whatever. And then it came back, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, you still have one? And she's like, yeah. Well, now I follow her because I was like, I should have been checking it more, but I'm also not a hover. Like,
Right.
it's a hard balance, and
It
for
is. And, the other reality is the way we see their posts and see the comments are very different necessarily than how they're seeing it.
right.
Like, we don't read it the same way as an adult as they read it. So that's one issue. And the other issue is oftentimes kids have more than one account.
Oh, I don't think she does, but thank you for saying that because I'm gonna.
Right. She
You
may not,
better
but
not.
oftentimes they do.
I'm gonna get her. Okay. So, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'm like, I don't know. it's just hard. I mean, and it's hard with her because she's so great, but she's my only girl.
Mm-hmm.
So I was used to like how my boys were, and then the girl stuff is so rough because like I don't know when the boys would fight, like say they go fight someone or they shouldn't, but I'm just saying when boys fight they like squash it. Girls hold grudges for like 64 years. And then
Yeah.
they might be cool again. And I'm just, it's confusing. And so it's
The,
just, it, go
yeah,
ahead.
the girls are more vocal about it, but the boys actually go through it the same way.
Okay.
They are going through it as well. The girls just tend to be more vocal about it, so you know it's happening more. But the boys are going through it. The boys are going through comparing themselves on social media. We're seeing a rise in body dysmorphic disorder with boys.
Oh,
Um, that's social media based. So the boys are going through it just as much. It just looks a little bit different.
no.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing. So with, boys, they feel like they can't talk about their
Mhm.
feelings, but they should be able to just as much as
Yeah.
girls do. It's just probably not as natural. And plus, some people say that you can't, boys shouldn't talk about their feelings. So, I don't know. That's hard. The age is hard. I mean, what ages do you go up to like 19 or what age do you start at? And
So what we're also seeing is a massive failure to launch with a lot of our kids coming out of college. They're, living at home is not a bad thing, but living at home and not working, living at home
yeah,
and sleeping all day is a bad thing.
right.
So I'm actually seeing really up to like 23, 24 at this point,
Okay.
and they're still not fully into like adulthood, I would say. It's taking a lot longer to launch into adulthood because, the other issue is that a lot of these kids grew up with a lot of without problem solving skills
Hmm.
because parents are so accessible constantly. Because there's always adult involvement in so many things at this point. Kids haven't learned to figure things out on their own. They haven't learned to problem solve on their own. So it's taking them a little bit longer to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing about my daughter, and also she's my youngest, and there's a lot of years in between. My oldest is 12 years older than her. She's really good at problem solving, but not finding something that's right in front of her. But I think that's just the age. But with
Yes.
the boys, I was very overprotective, and it bit me in the butt.
Yeah.
So I changed with
Mhm.
her. But like with them, sometimes they didn't know how to figure things out as much because like you said, like I was like trying to save them from everything and I was trying to so I learned that kind of backfired and my second son who has a lot of diagnosis got in a lot of trouble. And basically my oldest one time said, this is when we moved to Georgia, and I was a single mom again of the three kids, and he said to me, "Yeah, dang," and I'm like, "What?" Like to me, I did because we just went to Six Flags. I was there though. Probably that's what it means. Or like he was in the band, and so he got to go on. Like to me, I thought, but like to him, it was like
Mhm.
I don't know. So the good thing is with her is that I try to step back some and let her, if she fails, it's okay, like learn from it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also hard. Do you ever like talk to the parents as well?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I work with the parents a lot as well. And I even have like a whole parent strategy session where I sit down with parents and we kind of go through what's working in their house, what's not working in their house, and a
Okay.
roadmap on how to fix it. Because yeah, the parents, it starts back at home and they can help a lot. And that's, it was especially during COVID, parents just felt at such a loss. They didn't really know how to help these kids. And that's when I wrote my books, Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know, because it really helps guide parents on what they can do. We can't live in a world without phones. We can't live in a world without social media. But what can we do to try to help our kids' mental health?
That's awesome. So yeah, that is your second book, or
This book is Mental Health Uncensored 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know. And then the parents really started asking for a book just for the kids. So I made a book that's similar to that, but it's a workbook for teens. So Mental Health Uncensored 10 Foundations Every Teen Needs to Know. So it really takes them through the foundations, really for mental health for life, and works with them on their goals and shows them how they feel better.
I love it. I just got. I'm going to buy your book. I just got because my daughter is not officially a teen, but
Mhm.
she thinks she's
Yeah.
like 60. But I just got her. I can't remember what it's called. That's very sad. But it was some kind of like thing like that as well for kids. Like, it had to do with like mental health, but also like strategies and different things. And the cool thing was it was like from the ages. So I would say like from 8 to 11, this, from 11 to 13, this, from this. And so it was pretty cool. But she just got that for Easter, actually. I got her two books.
Oh, I
One
love that.
was, yeah. So one was a calm
Yeah.
coloring book.
Yeah.
And then one was that. So I, well, I wrote a book as well in honor of my brother, but she also was writing a book and then she stopped, which I hope she picks it up again because it's a really cool thing for a child to do. And she helped me write mine as well.
No.
Yeah, I wanted her opinion because the character is actually my book is about I'll show you. Just not this is not about me, but it has to go with along with what you do. My brother had very severe OCD,
Mm.
and so I wrote this book, and I need to get the real one because this is my just my first one. But this is my brother's face. He passed away when he was 26, but the character is um, 12 turning 13. And so he had OCD. So these are the thoughts in his mind. But anyway, so yeah. So I wrote that to help kids. So I have like the DSM, like the diagnosis for
Mhm.
OCD. What does it mean? Then coping skills for anxiety in there and different things. And the character goes to occupational therapy. So I also have stuff for the caregiver to help them as well. But yeah, so that book is from like to help. I say like 11 and up.
Mhm.
But so what you're doing is awesome. So when you wrote the book, you said the first one was the parent one.
Yes,
Um, and it was during COVID or
it was because COVID, mental health kind of just exploded. It got really, really, I mean, it wasn't good to begin with, but it got really bad then.
yeah.
Everybody was kind of having the same issue, was that every therapist was almost full. I couldn't take on any new clients during that time. I was completely full. All of my therapist friends were completely full. And I felt like I really needed to get information out to parents in their hand as quickly as possible. And my foundations, I mean, it's how we start developing good mental health. I tell kids in my office all the time, you can't have your best possible mental health if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, if you're not exercising, if you are not seeing the light of day. Like, there are just some basic foundations that we need to start really instilling in these kids and in ourselves as well.
Yeah.
They're really important. Like, you can't feel great if you forget about your physical body. I mean, there's also a lot of mental health stuff in there too, in terms of the brain, about setting up boundaries, being able to say no, like understanding friendships, like all this stuff is really important. But the foundations are, if you're not sleeping, which was a huge issue during COVID, if you're not eating well, if you're not exercising, if you're not hydrated, this is going to be a problem. You're not going to feel great.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that because when I just say me, I'm not a teen, but or even my daughter, like I'll say, "Did you drink enough water today?" And she's like, no." And
Yeah.
you can tell, like you can, and me, I'm guilty of it too because I'm supposed to. I know how much I'm supposed to drink, and then I'm a nurse, so I might be at work, it might be crazy, and I'm like, "Did I even drink one bottle yet? It's 3 o'clock," you know. And so, but I can feel it, and I also work with a mind body coach and I do a lot of stuff. So I know when my body needs more water. but I'm trying to teach her that as well because, even like gut issues or like headache or acne or whatever, a lot of that stuff is tied to, mental health, but also the water, like you said, like it's really, that's really awesome.
It's the
Uh,
simplest step to start drinking more water. And it doesn't cost you money and it's easy and everybody could do it. It actually would save you money because you shouldn't, you don't need to buy juices and sodas and all this other stuff.
yeah.
Everyone could do it. It's easy. That's like, one of the first chapters in my book, like, let's just get hydrated. And there's a lot of studies out there and I cite them in my book that, not being hydrated makes people angry.
Wow.
Like it's harder to focus. Like all this stuff is real. So it's really important to take care of our physical body. Sleep is one of the most important ones. I'm actually also a certified sleep coach. I work with adults on sleep coaching because adults are not sleeping. I mean, neither are kids, but adults, it's really important that they sleep. So it really impacts our mental health.
Yeah. So let's talk about sleep then,
Yeah.
because because that is an issue for lots of people.
Mhm.
There's a few nurses I work with
Yeah.
that we compare to each other. And I went from, let's see, we went on a trip, McKenna and I. My granddaughter was turning 1, so we drove to Maryland, and we is me because she cannot drive. So we didn't leave when we were supposed to leave, and I was debating, do I even go? I don't know. And I was just getting over being sick. I slept 3 hours the night before, drove at like 2:30, wanted to get there, was supposedly going to get there at 4 a.m., which is rude, and you don't go to your kid's house at 4 a.m., not nice. And so we were like, okay, we're going to stop. It was raining the whole time. The fog was really bad, and I was falling asleep
Mhm.
driving. So we stopped, and the car was so packed, we couldn't even barely put the seats back. So it was not comfortable. So I don't think we slept. I probably slept 1 or 2 hours, if that, probably not. I don't know. And then I drove some more. Fog was really, really, really bad, was starting to fall asleep again, pulled over at a gas station, slept for another hour, then got to their house, stayed up all day until 1 a.m. Then slept, I don't know, maybe 4, I don't know. I was on a couch, 4 hours maybe. Then went to the party, helped there, and then left again. My dad said, "You are going to a hotel." And he was so nice and gave me money. He's like, "Stop and go to a hotel. You're driving all the way through." So we did. But I am such a nice person and so caring. I got so angry because over a week and a half, this just happened. So over like a week and a half, I had barely slept a normal, like
Yeah.
2 nights of sleep, kind of. And I was getting very irritated, very frustrated. Not with my patients. I'm very good about like controlling that part, but like just very irritable, very just everything. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
it's really dangerous too. So
it is.
for
I
an
mean,
adult,
yeah, it's really dangerous. Driving sleep deprived is,
yeah,
they say, sometimes just as bad as drinking and driving because your reaction times are not the same.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give for an adult that um I know there's like a sleep routine and all this stuff,
Yeah.
but somebody whose mind races, because I have ADHD. Well, I've never been diagnosed, but I took all these quizzes. But anyway, so somebody like that mind always races. What advice would you give us to
Yeah.
sleep a
So
deep?
there's a few different things. And when somebody comes to me for sleep coaching, I go through a really intensive background to see what actually is keeping them up and what does their day-to-day look like. And
Okay,
yes, a lot of people report it's, the thoughts kind of racing at night. The other thing is that they have a trouble like shutting down at a good hour before wrapping up for bed. With the thoughts racing, there's a lot of different techniques, such as journaling sometimes helps, but also what are you doing during the day to try to get a lot of that energy out, whether it be in your mind or body. We need to burn off enough energy during the day, both mind and body, before we're able to really relax at night. But my number one thing with sleep is that we have to make it a priority. And we have to have a good relationship with sleep. A lot of people walk into their bedroom, look at their bed, and feel like they're fighting their sleep. Like, I have to, like, accomplish this. I have to get my 8 hours in. And you almost go in like it's a battle, and you get like a lot of nervousness and anxiety over it. So I really changed the relationship they have with sleep. And then, yes, of course, a good sleep routine is always important too, making sure that your room is nice and dark and on the cold side, and no screens right before bed. Get your phone out of your bedroom. Some people, it helps to take a bath or shower before you go to sleep. Journal a little, do some meditation. All of these things are good to be putting in your practice. Some, nighttime tea is always nice too.
Okay. So all good advice. My thing is that I also wake up like 4 to 5 times a night. If I wake up 2 times a night, I'm like, woo, that's good. If I wake up none, you would have thought I hit the lottery. If I wake up no times a night and then I wake up in the morning and I go, oh my gosh, did I sleep? It's like a shock. Like, it's crazy. So sometimes my lovely dog wakes me up in the middle of the night, which makes me really frustrated because he woke me up twice the other night. Once, and it's always between 2 and 5. But once was like at 3 something and then at 4 something. And I was like, oh, I was not happy about that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just my body like waking up. And so I've tried to like drink water like earlier and stop drinking it. I've tried like all kinds of stuff. But the funny thing is, I'm supposed to be doing, I say supposed to be doing meditating. I'm not very good at it, but the one night I did do it, I fell asleep, but I wasn't ready to fall asleep because I hadn't set my alarm and all that stuff. And so then I woke up at 1 and I was like, I didn't set my alarm. And so that kind of like made me like off, but I don't know. So like if somebody wakes up a lot of times, what is there anything that you could help them? Like, what do you do?
Well, my question is always, how long are you up for when you're waking up?
It depends. So, like sometimes I just go to the bathroom and then come right back.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can fall back asleep and sometimes I can't. So it just depends.
So if you could fall right back asleep, there's actually nothing wrong with getting up for those few moments, coming back, as long as you're able to fall right back asleep.
Okay.
Sometimes what happens is that when somebody is up, then they start almost freaking out about, oh my gosh, I'm awake. It's the middle of the night. Oh my gosh, if I don't fall back asleep soon, I'm only going to get this many hours. And we need to change that kind of brain talk, because you don't want to stress yourself out, because then there's no way you're going to fall back asleep.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually not abnormal to be waking up a little bit at night. Way, way, way back before electricity, it was actually quite common for people to be up around 2 to 4 in the morning and like up and have conversation. It was called bilateral sleep. Our circadian rhythm changes around 2 to 4 in the middle of the night and 2 to 4 during the day. We get a little bit sleepier during the day, if you notice, during that 2 to 4 hour.
So smart. Yes.
Yes, we get a little bit more awake in the middle of the night between that 2 and 4 hour. So it's all about how you approach it, whether or not it's really going to be a problem or not.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So that is really cool. You're right. Because sometimes I think, is it because I just ate? Like, because I'll get tired. It's not funny, but I'm so like transparent and authentic points of view. So like I literally tell my business all the time. But like as I used to work in the recovery room. Now I work in the discharge area. And so I'll be giving discharge instructions and sometimes I yawn. It's really embarrassing. I don't like it. But I'm not allowed to have caffeine. So for my health stuff, and I've followed those rules. Other than every once in a while I'll have like some chocolate, but I mean it's not the level of, like a coffee or something. But like, yeah, I feel like I kind of crash anyway. Like, and I'm just like, ugh. And then at that point, I still have a whole half of shift to go. I work 12 hours. So like 3:30 is like my midpoint. Um, and I'm like, oh, but also with sleep. So if I, so one night I got off, it was crazy. I was very exhausted. So my question is that let me just finish this part. Sorry, and then I'll tell you what the question is. So I worked probably 16 hours. I don't even remember from like almost 16 hours. No, 15 and a half. Anyway, from 9 to like 12 in the morning, 9 a.m. till 12:10 the next morning. We were not supposed to stay that late. Things were happening. And we had to stay. So I would have thought I would have been like, I'm so tired, I need to go to sleep. Well, I could not go to sleep till like I think 1 or 2, and I still had to be at work the next morning at the same time. So why is it, do you think, that sometimes when you're so exhausted and you still can't fall asleep?
Well, you never shut down that night.
Yeah.
You went right from work trying to go to sleep, and that's just not going to work. You need some transition time. So I know we've jumped from like mental health over to sleep, but sleep is so important for our mental health. But I also encourage any adults out there who are struggling with their sleep. I have some information on my website, Sleep Solutions by Keri, which I juggle 2 businesses. One is the sleep, and then one is just my therapy. But I work with a lot of adults on sleep. It's so important. I do the corporate wellness talks too, because when your employees are sleep deprived, mistakes happen. And also they're not as productive when they're sleep deprived. So it's really important to be, sleeping.
Yeah. Ooh, you're right. I agree. So back to mental health. No, but you're right. It all ties in together.
It does.
I mean, it's hard to be focused and do your best at anything you're doing if you are not well rested and your body doesn't have that time to like regenerate and get that rest. So you do your therapy as like a holistic approach.
Yes.
So can you explain for like teens, like what does that mean?
So that means that I look more than just the symptoms. It's more than just, okay, you have anxiety. Let's look at your symptoms. Let's do the normal, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, whatever. I look more at the foundations of, okay, are you sleeping? What are you eating? Are you hydrated? Because all of that plays into our mental health. I look at, what is your screen time looking like? Because that's part of our mental health. Are you overscheduled? What do you like to do? What are you enjoying? But really, so it's a more holistic view, because it's not just about the mental health. It's not just about the symptoms of anxiety or symptoms of depression. It's how does your entire lifestyle either help that or hurt that?
That's awesome. That's a really great approach because, like, not to keep talking about me, but in nursing, it's the same thing. So I work with surgical patients, but I can't just focus on the surgical side.
Right.
So sometimes patients come out and they're crying or they're this and that. So like me, and I'm also a life coach, so I kind of like go above and beyond of like trying to like the holistic thing for them is like it's not just about that. Like if you have diagnosis that cause more anxiety, I try to let people know that they're safe when I worked in the PACU. Now, where I work now, most people are more with it, hopefully, because it's been more time, so the anesthesia's kind of out and they're going home that day. But a lot of times, like, it was important for me to know that, if you have PTSD, if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have ADHD, if you have whatever you have, like to let you know that you're safe and that you're okay, right? Especially with little kids. Like when we take care of little kids, it's scary because, like, even for an adult, when you're in one place and then you don't remember getting to the next place, you're like, what?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's really important to treat people on a holistic approach because, like you said several times, everything affects the other thing.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. So in your I'm sorry, you have chickens. Let's just talk about your chickens do you have? This is not a question I was gonna ask.
Yeah, I have 4 chickens. They were actually a COVID kind of project. We're like, let's get some chickens. Um,
Oh,
so it's actually really fun. It's fun for the kids to, take care of them, and the eggs are delicious, and it's great. I love them.
that's awesome. And eggs are so expensive right now.
Oh my
So
goodness, yes, it kind of worked out well.
yeah, you're smart. 'Cause
Right?
I I haven't even bought eggs, and I was gonna. So like usually my daughter and I we like dye eggs, and like
Yeah.
we were gonna make deviled eggs, and then like they've just gone up to like $8 or whatever. I don't even know. So expensive. So I'm like, meh.
Yeah, everyone who does during COVID is, it's paying off now.
So smart. So how old do your kids range? Like what's the youngest to the
My youngest is 10 and my oldest just turned 18.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so awesome. So how does your practice help you with your own kids? Like does it help you apply stuff to your own
It
kids?
does. It really helps me, like, remember the other side. Like, when we're in an argument, how are they hearing what I'm saying, and how are
Yeah.
they internalizing that? Because when kids come to my office and they're telling me what happened and how, whatever their parents said to them made them feel, I could see it from the parent side, why they said it, what they did,
Yeah.
but then I see it from the kid side, and it's a really good reminder for myself, as I have those conversations at home. And also just, a reminder of sometimes it's as parents, we're like, why can't you just keep your room clean or do this or that? And it's like, those are things that are important to us as adults, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't even almost register for them. And it's not because they're being disrespectful oftentimes, it's because they're so engrossed in their own life, in their own world. And dishes in a sink, that's not even close to being on their priority list. And to remember that it's not from a place of disrespect.
Right. So that is important because I have to I'm a single mom and I only have her at home now and I have 3 boys. The third boy is my bonus son. But with her, it's like I've told her 64. I like the number 64 today for some reason, but I keep telling her she had a certain day she was supposed to clean her room.
Mhm.
Every week, it's supposed to be cleaned by this day. Well, my schedule changes every week, so that does not work anymore. So she's not home. She'll go with my mom. So she's like, well, how am I supposed to do it if I'm not home? Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You have to do it one of the days during the week, please. Por favor. Like just but I have to keep getting on her and I'll walk in there and I'm like, oh, it makes me anxious. But
Mhm.
to her, she's doing so many activities at school and
Yep.
she's like trying to keep her grades up. She's in leadership, she's an ambassador, she was in dance, she's in band, she was in winter guard, she was in Bible study. And so like she's always the head of stuff. She's so cute. She's like the president of this, the president of that. They're doing projects. And I do need to think and remind myself because I get like that sometimes too. Um, like I'll just say today. Today I had to work out. I didn't have to. I chose. I'm blessed to work out, but that was part of my day. Then I have all these things I had to do. I had the live podcast today instead of yesterday. I have an appointment with my speaking coach today, and I like had my speech. Want to make sure it was ready, and then I have so like there's so many things that I like had to prepare for, and I'm like, I get what she's going through because like school is not like it was when
No,
I was in
not
school.
at all.
And so there is a lot of pressure on them, especially somebody that's like a high achiever. And I always try to remind her that I'm not the one putting the pressure. That's not what I try to remind her, but I'm not the one. I know some parents do put the pressure that she's putting on herself, but also that if her grades slip up, then she needs to kind of back away from something. And I think that also puts pressure on her, though. I don't mean to,
Right.
but so if a kid is a high achiever,
Mhm.
what advice would you give a teen that just wants to be in everything, wants to do everything so great?
Yeah, you can't be great at everything and you can't
Right.
do everything.
Yeah.
So I really do try to encourage them to to do what they want to do, what they love to do, or what really makes sense for them to be doing, but that they don't need to be doing everything. They just don't.
Yeah.
They need downtime. They need time to just enjoy and just kind of be with themselves. They don't need to be busy so much.
Yeah. That's the hard part is that like you like as a parent, and I'm not overprotective like I was with the boys. I want her to be a kid. So we do try to find balance of because all the stuff she's doing already, she's getting stuff for her resume for college. She's in sixth grade. Like
Right.
it's like, whoa. But it's so wonderful. But like yesterday she was talking to my son about the almost 19-year-old about how like okay, this thing sets me up for if I want to be a lawyer, this thing sets me up. And I was like, but my perspective listening to that is holy moly, like that's a lot. And
It's a lot. And they don't realize that none of that really matters.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And even, the reality is like, if you want to go to college, you're going to go to college. There's a college out there for everybody. And it's what you kind of do there and how, what resources you gain and what skills you gain. And they put so much pressure on themselves and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because you could change your mind about what you want to be. And it doesn't matter then what you did in middle school or elementary school. What matters is, did you do things that you enjoyed? Did you do things that, taught you something that helped a skill set? But it doesn't need to be that serious.
I know. The cute thing is that she's very self-aware as well. And so she did say to her brother, because I was like letting them talk, but I was listening to some of it because he's in college in Ohio. But she was saying, well, yeah, I might change my mind and this and that. She said that. So she is very well aware. And also, I encourage her to figure out what she likes, like what do you want to do? But there's no pressure, like again, as like me, like saying like, oh, you need to be a nurse because I'm a nurse. No, or nothing like that. It's like whatever you love, whatever you want to do, and you also have a lot of time to figure it out. You are halfway through school, through like the primary years, but yeah, so it's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves, like you said. And it's sad because it's like I try to tell her, like, it's going to be okay, or you don't have to, like, and then I do want to say that kids do listen. Sometimes they'll like, you don't think they're listening.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, you told me. So yesterday she said, you told me when I get frustrated to take a break. So I did. And I said, very good. But I learned that from my support team with my son. So my second son, I got so many sons. My second son that has ADHD was Asperger's. Now it's autism spectrum or whatever. But like he had a very hard time learning. And so he would cry and he just couldn't get it. And so they taught me, you've got to give him breaks. You've got to let him, work on it. So that really helped. And that was like 15, 16 years ago. But so what do you have any advice for like teens that maybe things don't come as easily to them and maybe they do have to put in a little bit more effort?
Yeah, because everyone's brain works really differently. And just because school is hard doesn't mean that you're less than, and it doesn't mean you're not as smart. It means that your skill set may be somewhere else, or it may be in school, but in different material or a different way of learning that they're not teaching you when you're young. I did not do well in school growing up. It's really, really hard for me. I did really well in college when I started learning about psychology because that I understood. That clicked in my brain. And I went on to do, very well and an Ivy League graduate school, but I did horrendous in elementary school and middle school and high school because it didn't click in my brain. And that doesn't mean that I'm not as smart. It just means that we take this approach, unfortunately, where every kid, elementary, middle school, and high school is taught the same material, whether or not they like it, need it, or anything like that, taught the same way. And some of our brains do not operate like that.
That's very true. So when you were a teen, how did you adjust to not learning? Like, did you try different ways of learning, or How
No,
did you
I
know?
got frustrated and really completely just didn't care. So I didn't attempt at all in school at one point. So
That's
it's amazing I graduated high school. It's amazing I went to college, but then I did really great because I started studying something I was actually interested in and it made more sense to me.
that's so awesome. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. And it's like that's the I kind of like that's not my story as much, but my son, my I keep saying my son when I have three sons. My second son, his name is Tay. He yeah, he did not do well in school. He didn't understand things. We got to the point where he was doing very well. He was going to occupational therapy. They did this astronaut program. He was learning how to read. He was really excited, but then he got held back in first grade, and then he was helping the other kids, and then but it really affected him for a long time. And then when he had to learn cursive, he couldn't learn how to read again, and so it just started over. And what we learned while I was a single mom, what I learned, and through the help of his support, we had a case manager, a therapist, and a psychiatrist, and all kinds of stuff. And he loves sports. So I would get him stuff to do with sports, like sports books, sports this. And even if it's just a little article, at least he's learning and he was reading. And
Right.
so that's something that I learned advice for, and that helped his mental health as well because he wasn't so down on himself. He didn't feel like he couldn't do it. He actually was like, oh, wow, look at me. Like I can, read just like everybody else. And so, or even like little cards or whatever. So with teens, some of you don't have to give all of them. Some of the 10, what was it, principal? Sorry.
Foundations, yeah.
Thank you, foundations. What's just a couple for teens that you wrote in the book?
Yeah, so 5 of them are all
parents. Sorry, we did the teen ones, didn't we?
They're all the same in the book.
Okay.
There's 10 foundations, and it's really for a lifetime of good mental health.
Okay.
So it's really, the 5 physical ones, which I talk about all the time, and then there's 5 more mental health ones. And one of the biggest ones is, being able to say no.
Yeah.
And we talk about that when we get overscheduled or saying no to things that we don't want to do, or saying no to friendships that don't work for us. That's a really important one. A lot of our kids, for whatever reason, feel like they just can't say no and put up those boundaries. And that's really, I think, one of the most important ones that I see all the time. And then, for parents as well, one of them is being able to let go. Your children build confidence when they're able to do things on their own. So you don't always have to come in and save the day. Let them do stuff on their own. Let them figure it out when they're young. Give them guidance and then let them do it. And it may not be the same way you would do something, and that's okay.
I love that. That's such great advice. When there's so many parents that do the projects for kids, and then it enables them. It does not teach them how to do it or build skills. And so that builds a lot of anxiety when the parent's not there. And now they're like you said, trying to solve problems. Yeah. And a couple times my kids, like my son won, and it seems so simple, but I remember he's my third son, my bonus son. They came to work to show me that he won. He did like 3 steps of something, like it was like floating paper or something, or density or whatever in the water. But how I helped was I took pictures of each step. I went and printed them before I went to work, gave it to him, and then he put it all in the poster, did all the things, did all that. So my point of helping was he can't drive to the store and print out pictures. So that's what I did. But he won first place because it was absolutely, you could tell, was done by a kid. Yeah. And all the steps were done by him. And I was so proud of him. And that's the thing, like, that's important too, I believe, with mental health and kids, is that celebrating small wins is very important for building up their confidence. And I really feel like that's important. Do you do that with therapy? Like each session, do you like celebrate certain progress? Or
not each session? But because to be honest, not each session there is progress.
There is progress.
Say that something's happening when it's not. We're going to be pretty truthful.
Yeah.
And sometimes progress takes a long time, and sometimes it's just about getting on that road. So it's about, being able to recognize when we're on that road and recognize what we are trying to do, even though it may not be successful. That's okay because we're trying. So
Yeah.
it's just about, are you moving forward or are you standing still?
Yeah, that's awesome. And accountability is very important too. And it goes into adulthood. And
Yes.
like you said, saying no is really important because it goes into adulthood.
Yeah.
I was a
All
huge
of
people
these.
pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
All
of
of
them
these
go.
adulthood. It's what makes good mental health really for life. So even when the parents read the books, the parents actually start taking away a lot of stuff that they could be doing differently too.
I love that. You're so awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful that you came and talked to us. So this is the question usually McKenna asks, and she's in school. McKenna, no, I'm just joking. So, okay, if you could go back and tell your 13-year-old self something, what would you tell her?
I would tell my 13-year-old self to try things, even if I didn't think I was going to be good at them.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
think a lot of people hold themselves back from doing things because they assume like, well, I'm not going to be good at it or I haven't done that before. And that's okay. Have those new experiences and be okay with not being good at it.
I love that. And that's another thing is that we sometimes run off of fear. And
Mhm.
that's the scary part is that like you might not ever break out of that. You might just stay in that mode and you could be missing out on so many things. Like you could be the next piano prodigy, but you might be scared to play the piano or whatever. So that's great advice. It's going along the bottom, but where can we find you other than
Yeah.
other than
My website is Keri Cooper Holistic Therapy, and you can contact me through there. I know you mentioned Sleep Solutions by Keri, the
yeah.
adults are needing from sleep coaching. And then both my books are on Amazon, Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know, and 10 Foundations Every Teen Needs to Know, which is a workbook for them.
I love that. I'm definitely getting it for my daughter.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you for all your awesome advice. Thank you for what you do. It is not easy, I'm sure, but you're a huge blessing that you help the kids with the hardest years of their life. I mean,
Yeah.
so is there any advice that you have? I'm trying to think of the last question because we have like 2 minutes left. Is there any advice you have for for parents like me? No, that were like me, that were kind of like overbearing and like scared and overprotective. You kind of said to like let them do stuff, but what would you say to somebody that was like that?
Yeah, I would start thinking about, what's the worst case scenario? Like, what's really going to happen if something doesn't work out well? Because most of the time it's not that bad. And just like we're trying to tell our children, don't live in fear and not do things because of fear. It's the same with our parents. Don't not allow your children to build up those skills just because of fear.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much again. Have a wonderful day. And I hope that something you heard today helps you see something from a different point of view and hear other people's authentic points of view. Next week, we will be on at 3 p.m. on Sunday again. So thank you so much, Keri. Have a wonderful day.